Lonely Crossings is a song that stands for one of the good pursuits, which is the friendship. As I mentioned in my previous video how I wrote the music for Lonely Crossings, this song was originally called Lonely Sunsets. It was a love song, and I think that the original premise was really great and unique as far as love songs go. The first verse and the first chorus were basically describing me being alone and having to face sunsets alone. Sunset is definitely one of the most romantic images, and that's the image I reused on the track Missing Colors from the first album. The second verse and the second chorus were about somebody out there, so a girl in my case, basically going through the same thing as me, being alone and having to face those sunsets alone. And then in the bridge, we were supposed to kind of meet metaphorically. And the final chorus was about us facing the sunsets together and them not being lonely anymore. And while I think that the premise was really great, the execution was pretty poor. So now you can see the original lyric on the screen. So just pause the video if you want to go through it. I wrote the lyric a couple months after coming back from America, so it was still back in 2012. And similarly to Wrong Doors, that had a very different original lyric, when I revisited Lonely Sunsets for the second album, the lyrics and its original premise just wasn't relatable enough for me, because at that point I had been married for almost a year and we had been together with my wife for much longer than that. So that's why I decided to rewrite the lyric I think it was in like April 2020, a few months before starting working on the second album. As I also mentioned in the previous video, I wrote this track in Los Angeles, and one of the things that really influenced the music was how lonely I felt. It's not only that I was the furthest from home I've ever been, I was a stranger in a strange land, but also I could feel that people were judging me by the clothes I was wearing, by the car I was driving. The materialism was just extremely strong and present there, which made me feel even more alone. And I think that's why when I was playing around with the guitar, when I wrote it, it really embodied that loneliness. So when I decided to rewrite this lyric for the second album, I decided to keep the theme of loneliness, just to look at it from a different point of view. So this time it's not from the relationship point of view, but it's more from the partnership point of view. Lonely Crossings is definitely one of the most personal songs I've ever written, and it's one of the two songs from the second album that describe my biggest struggles I'm going through. The other song is going to be the next single, but now let's focus on a couple of the questions and a couple of the problems that Lonely Crossings addresses. I often feel alone. This is one of the biggest struggles I've been going through for the past couple of years. When I look at my music career, it can be compared to a Sisyphean task. And obviously, if you keep doing it for a long time, you kind of expect the boulder to get a bit lighter as the journey goes on. But it doesn't. It's just becoming more overwhelming, exhausting, frustrating, and depressing. And you're kind of stuck between these two decisions, whether to just quit and have a peace of mind or to keep going on. And especially when you look back and you see the whole journey you have experienced so far, you don't really want to end it yet. But at the same time, the journey is not getting easier. I'm of belief that when great people meet together, great things happen. At the same time, working with people is extremely problematic because people will never disappoint in always disappointing you. And whatever you want to do in life, whether it's art or sport, it's always better when there are other people you can rely on and other people you can collaborate with. And basically, Lonely Crossings is really about that longing for finding a partner in crime, someone I could rely on, someone who would share my artistic vision, someone who would help me. So basically, the song asks this question that, is it always going to be like this? Am I always going to be alone for whatever I want to do? Or will I find a partner in crime? What about you? Do you have a partner in crime, or are you alone for whatever endeavors you're interested in? Let me know in the comments below. Have you ever felt your passion was becoming a burden? I'm extremely proud of the lyrics of the song Lonely Crossings. It was really difficult to put it together, even though the words may not seem too complex, but it took a lot out of me to write this lyric. And I really love the idea that my passion has become a burden. Ever since I was a teenager, I believed that the purpose why I was brought to this world was to write music and to sing, because those are the two things I do the best and I like doing the most. But at a certain point, when you just realize that you don't have enough recognition and success to actually make this for a living, you'll start realizing how difficult it is to keep everything going on, to be at a certain level. I think that whatever I do is really on a top-notch level, but to keep that level, it requires just an enormous amount of energy, effort, time, money. And at that point, passion really is becoming more of a burden, because if you're alone and there's nobody to help you, and if you don't really get a lot in return, what's the point? Why do you do it? So what about you? Have you ever felt that your passion was becoming a burden? Was there ever a little period where it was like that? Or are you in a situation like that? Let me know in the comments below and let me know how you deal with that. Why is it that people are not passionate anymore? I don't think you will find a more driven, passionate, and enthusiastic person in music than me. There are so many times I wish I wasn't, because it's just so damn hard. I know it sounds a bit egocentrical, but it is like that. You know, I've known hundreds of musicians, and most of them either don't do music anymore or they are in it just for the money. I kept my principles, but at the same time, it's really very sad, because whenever somebody comes to me with some project, I don't really look at it like, what am I gonna earn from it? Basically, everything I do is from a viewpoint of like, when I'm old, I'm gonna have all these memories, all these experiences, and I'm gonna be very happy about putting my potential to full use. But it seems like today the most common questions are, how much are you gonna pay me? What do I get out of it? What's in it for me? And I think it really takes away the passion in art. Now, I'm not saying that if you're an artist, you should do everything for free. Obviously, I don't like doing things for free as well. But there is a thing called passion project. When you see that somebody is doing something really exceptional and unique and is putting his whole life, whole money, whole soul into it and doesn't necessarily earn too much out of it, but you can see the quality. Why do you care about the money? Why don't you want to take a part in it just for the sake of taking part in it? Also, I understand that money is very important, and if you want to buy something, you're probably not gonna buy it because you were part of a cool project or because of the exposure or whatever. I get that. But still, if I see someone who's doing something genuinely interesting, I want to support that project with my talent as much as possible. So tell me, why is it that people are not passionate anymore? And why is it that we are so centered around success, numbers, and money? And we kind of forget the main point of most of the stuff, which is to have fun and to put our potential to full use and to try to make a change through art.